This session will be conducted by Ms. Jenny Klevas and Mr. Parag Karhadkar. And I request Mr. Rohan Bhasin to kindly accompany our speakers to the stage and present a beach box to both. With a huge round of applause, we will be welcoming Ms. Jenny Klevas and Mr. Parag Karhadkar. Ms. Jenny Klevas is the Director Global Marketing at Perstorp AB. She has a Master of Science degree and holds a licentiate in Technology in Design Sciences from Lund University in Sweden. 20 years of experience in B2B companies in both technical but primarily commercial roles. And Mr. Parag Karhadkar, Director Sales South Asia at Perstorp based out of Mumbai. Associated with Perstorp in various important techno-commercial positions since 2008, more than 23 years of experience in sales, marketing, product management, commercial excellence, and new business development, and about 14 years of these years he has spent in international markets like Asia, Pacific, Middle East, and Africa. Ms. Jenny Klevas and Mr. Parag Karhadkar to conduct this session.
In the middle.
Is the next one, right?
Yeah.
But where's the pointer? Center? Is it coming on there? Oh, very less. So that's okay. Let's do it. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank Team IPCA for giving this wonderful opportunity to be here. I also have to thank two previous speakers, my friends, Alan sitting there together with Ravindra, and also Mr. Kelkar from KLJ, because they sort of kind of trying to get us back on track with the time. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, let's have a clap for them. So Jenny, we have a responsibility to deliver, but I think also the responsibility is with the audience that they listen to us very carefully so that most of the things are clear, you know. But of course, we are welcome to take a couple of questions towards the end. Yeah, so there has been a lot of talk about being upcoming unicorn yesterday, and I'm sure one of the upcoming unicorn in the paint industry is sitting here, and probably that particular person or couple of them are not fully aware about the Perstorp. So I just thought to put up one particular slide. We are a company based out of Sweden. As you can see, you know, in fact, this year is 141 year for us. So we have a very long history in the business. In India also, we will, oh, it got Craig doubled. How do you move this back? The red one, right? It's not going.
Yeah, it's working.
It's working? Yeah, okay. So as I was talking about being based on about 140 years history, in India also we will be soon completing 25 years of a business. So not as long as what we have been in Sweden, but still I would say we have spent a significant amount of years within India. We are currently owned by a French equity firm, PAI Partners, but as most of you must have seen, there was a news on 17th of May where a big giant out of Malaysia, Petronas Group, has an intention to acquire Perstorp under the Petronas Chemical Group, and currently we are undergoing the regulatory approvals and the antitrust and so on. Hopefully within soon we will become a part of a Petronas. We are about $1 billion in terms of turnover last year, and the most important thing is actually on the right-hand side, that 50% of our product portfolio, we are globally number one. I would say, you know, for being number 1, 2, 3 will be 80% of our product portfolio. It's a bit too fast. As COVID gave, you know, some people challenges, including Perstorp, and also, you know, everybody had to revalidate their strategy pre-COVID and a post-COVID era. So within Perstorp, you know, our executive leadership team, together with our CEO and few other consultants around the world, we looked at, you know, what are we best at? And where should we be spending our capex? Because, you know, Perstorp has a product range offering into the resin coating, also into pharma, agriculture, feed and food, plasticizer. So it was important to really sit down and see, post-pandemic what we see and where should we spending our money. And definitely we came up with the 3 market segment, starting with resin coating, which is significant for us. Second is the animal nutrition, where you deal with the animal feed, and thankfully we are not handling that because you need a veterinary background and there's a dedicated resources being appointed for that. And third is an engineering fluid, which is also known as synthetic lubricants. So these are the 3 segments we decided to focus as we proceed post-COVID. Besides this, definitely a transition like many other companies from a non-specialty to specialty product portfolio, strengthening our position in Asia because few years back we have been pretty much a Europe-centric company and we started that journey about 20 years ago. So definitely these 3 market segments together with the transition to specialty, digitalization, sustainability, these are some of the pillars for our future growth. Yeah. A little bit about resin coating, where do we do? Again, I would like to thank Mr. Kekar. In your slide, you put about resin being 46%, so it's quite significant and important portion of a paint formulation. And we are the building block providers in terms of manufacturing resin. So if you're manufacturing alkyds, polyester, polyurethane dispersion, in terms of a coating, if you are interested in an intumescent coating with so much fire happening around in order to protect the infrastructure, this is where we come in. Also, I would say, if you have any questions regarding our strategy, how is the energy cost looking in Europe, the Ukraine-Russia kind of the conflict. We have Mr. Philip here, our VP polyol globally. So even, you can have an interaction with him. Thank you, Philip, for being here. We have about 7 manufacturing units. You have 2 in Sweden, 1 in Germany, 1 in Italy. Netherlands is where we do our animal nutrition product range. We have 1 plant in US in Toledo, and we also have a manufacturing in Zibo up north from the Shanghai. That's quite exciting, but what I'm coming up next is even more exciting, that next year, by month of June, we will start producing Penta erythritol, one of the key ingredient for making alkyds, into India, in Gujarat, in the Saika village. So I would say, definitely, this, you need to earn a trust and you need to earn something for the investment. So besides that, I would also like to thank all our customers for having faith in us, for trusting us, which allows us to have this kind of investment in India. And this was, mind you, also even before people started talking about China +1. This was decided 2017-18. Unfortunately, COVID hit, and this was pushed back a bit. But definitely, this is one of the biggest investment for the company outside our headquarters through the FDI route under the Make in India campaign as well. And again, I have here with me Deepak. If you can just wave your hand there, you can contact him to know a little bit more about that. Yeah, just wanted to give you a glimpse of what's coming up. Those above pictures were taken in the March this year, taken from the drone basically to show the full site, which is about 25 acres there. And on the left-hand side below is you can see that our administration building is already ready to move in. Yeah, very much excited, and as I said, together we need to make this dream come true, and very much counting on the customers out here. Also, not many people have explored our application lab in Mumbai. This is in Ghatkopar. Yes, I have some of the customers here sitting there who have been visiting us frequently, but we definitely invite few more. If you have anything to discuss with alkyd, polyester, PUD, 2KPU, UV curing, you're more than welcome. We have a small but a very efficient lab established there, and our lab manager, Mr. Ramakrishnan, is here. Again, on the lighter note, we have a tendency when we visit customers, they look at us as a consultant. So sorry, we are not consultants. We can only talk about what Perstorp products do's and don'ts, and we pretty much limit out there. So last but not the least, I don't see Kusai here, or he's here. So if you want to know where the Penta prices are heading in Q4, he's the guy, but let me tell you, there is a very high chances of he going wrong with the kind of uncertainty we have today in the market. So it comes with a lot of terms and conditions. Yeah, so thank you once again. I'll just hand it over to Jenny now to take you through the sustainability and the mass balance concept. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, do you hear me okay? Yeah, perfect. So I would like to start to zoom out a bit. If we look at some global macro trends, we can see there is an ongoing technology shift. We have an increased amount of electrified vehicles. I just read in the news yesterday that Honda cars in India, they will start a feasibility study to move 2/3 of their portfolio into full electrical vehicles by the end of this decade. So a lot of things are happening here. We have urbanization and changing demographics. We heard yesterday, we heard Mr. Yagawal's presentation on how the demographics is changing in India with a growing middle class population and a high class population. And that will, of course, also have an impact on living standards, right? And at the same time, we have the climate change, we have the resource scarcity, and all these trends, they need to exist at the same time. So to do this, there are, of course, some frameworks that we need to relate to. We have the Paris Agreement from 2015, with the aim to not exceed 2 degrees in global temperature increase. We have the United Nations Agenda 2030, with their 17 sustainability goals, or Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. We have the European Green Deal, which is Europe's growth strategy to become a circular economy by 2050. And then we, of course, have the financial sector with investors looking into how companies are meeting all these goals. We have legislations and conventions supporting this European Green Deal, and of course market expectations. So this might sound a bit Europe-centric, right? But of course things are happening also in India. And this is, of course, super important for India. It was actually rated as number 4 in German Watch's list of companies being impacted the most by climate change. We have the risk of Himalayan glaciers melting. We have heat wave frequency and power with increased intensity and frequency. But of course, India is not sitting still here. Already 2008, the National Action Plan on Climate Change was released, and there you have a lot of goals, increasing renewable energy, protecting lands and forests. And then, of course, different states have their own goals. And also, India is planning to be net zero by 2070. So yes, a bit behind if we compare to Europe, but we all need to work towards a more sustainable society. And of course, this is very important to us, being in the chemical industry, being in the coats and paintings industry, when we know that about 96% of all products being manufactured rely on chemicals somehow. So we actually have the choice of being part of the problem or being part of the solution. At Perstorp, we have set out our sustainability targets for 2030. We have signed up for the science-based targets. And if you're interested in what companies that have signed up for the science-based target, you can actually go into the website and you will find a list of all companies that have committed to the science-based targets in line with the Paris Agreement. So for scope 1 and 2, and I will on the next slide describe what the scope 1, 2, 3 means. But scope 1 and 2, very much related to your own processes. Here we have a target of a 46% of absolute CO2 reduction from 2019, which is our base year, up to 2030. And for scope 3, which is more upstream and downstream, there we have a target of a reduction of 28% of CO2 reductions for all products being produced. So moving into these scope 1, 2 and 3, you can divide the carbon emissions into 18 different categories. So for scope 1, that would be all the emissions that you generate from all your internal processes. So running your offices, all the company vehicles, running all your production plants, that would be scope 1. And then scope 2, that's indirect emissions generated from all the purchased electricity or steam that you need to run your facilities. And that's also why you tend to group scope 1 and 2, because they are very much related to each other. And then you have scope 3. And scope 3 is everything, all carbon emissions connected to your products that happens upstream and downstream. And here you can see that I have put a red circle around scope 3, and that's not a coincidence. Because when companies start to calculate their scope 1, 2 and 3 emissions, they will soon find out that scope 3 normally represent between 90 and 98% of all emissions. So if you want to save a carbon reduction, scope 3 is a very good start. And in this scope 3, most companies will also find out that the raw materials that you are buying for your products, they represent quite a big chunk of scope 3. So let's focus on how we can reduce scope 3 by going for more sustainable raw materials. So we can see that there is a need to move away from finite raw materials and move into renewable or recycled materials. So how do you do this? Well, maybe the first thing that you will think of is, okay, then we will go for bio-based products. And bio-based products can, of course, be a very good solution, but it doesn't come without its challenges. Because developing a completely new product, I mean, there are a lot of people from R&D in this audience. You know that it can take years. It's not very cheap. It's quite complex. You need to redo a lot of safety assessments and toxic studies of your product because, of course, you don't want to compromise on safe and healthy. And you can also have, of course, quality concerns with odor, with the color. Maybe you need to build a completely new production plant or a production line. You need to put more steel on the ground, which is not necessarily more sustainable. So is there a better way and a more efficient way to start moving away from finite materials? Here we have the mass balance approach. As this is the title of the presentation, this might not come as a surprise that I would come to this point. So the mass balance approach is a very efficient way of transforming from finite materials to renewable or recycled origin. This means that you can gradually shift towards these materials at a good pace. You will have a CO2 reduction on your products. You will not have any development lead times because the mass balance product is the identical product as the fossil version. And your customers will not have to do any reformulation. So it's really a drop-in replacement, which is a win-win for all of us. However, mass balance has, of course, been challenged. It has been accused of greenwashing. And I think it's important to have in mind that mass balance is not one single method. Actually, there exist different methods on how to mass balance. So it's important to understand the differences and to avoid that you come in a conversation with your customer and being accused of greenwashing. And there are different certifications certifying these different ways of mass balancing. You have ISCC+, which is probably the most commonly used certification in the chemical industry. You have Red Cert, and you have RSB. So I would say that these are the three dominant certifications. So the key differences between these different certifications, it's if credit transfers are allowed or not. Now my screen died. Yeah, okay, here it is. And if you apply chemical or physical traceability, and what type of sustainability criteria are included in the certification. Because these certifications, they are not only including the renewable raw materials you're buying or how you mass balance, they also contain a lot of different other sustainability criteria. Okay, so I will try to explain the key principles of the mass balance concepts. Here you can see a production site, that is the white box, and you see two different production lines. So the most strict approach of mass balancing, that's when you put your system boundaries around your production line, and that's called batch level mass balance. So you have your renewable raw materials coming in, you have your fossil materials, it's mass balanced in the process, and then it's being sold as mass balanced renewable or fossil material. The next level is a site level mass balance, and in this, here you have the system boundaries around the production sites. So here you are allowed to move credits from one production line to another production line. The next level is group level mass balance, and here you can see you have different production sites, and here you are allowed to move credits between different sites. So in this case you have no physical traceability between the renewable raw material and the mass balanced product. And then there is actually a fifth principle, which is called where you have fictional plants. And in this case it's a bit complex, but there you have no connection whatsoever between the type of raw material and the end product. So here you have no chemical traceability. At Perstorp, we believe in the strictest definition of mass balance. So we run batch level mass balance. And we have created our own definition of our mass balance products, and we call them pro-environment solutions. So our products in our pro-environment solution range, they are partly or fully renewable or with recycled origin. They are reducing the carbon footprint compared to the fossil version. They are all certified with ISCC+, and they are based on a certified traceable mass balance concept. So we apply both physical and chemical traceability. And this ISCC certification, it's actually growing almost day by day. When we looked at the number of certificates being issued 1 year ago, we could see that there were more than 30,000 certificates being issued. And also in India, you will find a few companies with certified sites here in India. And it's really growing, which is of course very positive. So what is then physical traceability? Just to repeat it a bit. So at Perstorp, we have currently 3 certified sites in Europe. So we have 2 sites in Sweden and we have 1 site in Germany. And then we have the upcoming site in India, which will be ready next year. So here we hope to have the certification ready next year, possibly beginning of 2024. So this means that we can only produce our mass balanced products at the certified sites, and we cannot shift credits between the different sites. So we cannot produce Penta in Sweden and use renewable raw materials and then use the credits and sell them as a pro-environment product in India. So when we start to produce our pro-environment products in India, they will be supplied with renewable raw materials to the site in India. Chemical traceability then. Here you see Penta erythritol to the left. And here it has been replaced. Two of the black carbons have been replaced with green carbons. Here. And this is the acetaldehyde part of the penta-erythritol molecule. And the chemical traceability means that if we want to increase the renewable content of a VoxtarTM, which is the trade name for renewable penta-erythritol, we cannot increase the amount of bioacetaldehyde, but we need to use biomethanol, which will represent the other three black carbons in the molecule. So that is chemical traceability. And sometimes I use this example. This is a very simplified example of chemical and physical traceability. So the chemical traceability, let's say that you want to make a pancake or an organic pancake. So you need flour, you need milk, you need eggs to make the pancake. So in order to make it 100% organic, then you need organic milk, organic eggs, and organic flour. So you cannot use organic juice and use those credits and place it on your pancake, right? So that's chemical traceability. The physical traceability means that if you want to provide maybe your family with organic pancakes, then you cannot use ingredients from someone else cooking, what do you say with pancakes, frying perhaps, and use them in your home and say these are organic pancakes. You need to have the organic ingredients in your kitchen. And that is physical traceability. And when you look at this, it seems quite straightforward, right? Of course, this is the way things should be done. But actually, not all companies are doing mass balance this way. And it's important to have in mind, because our experience is really when we talk to downstream players, we have a lot of conversations with brand owners. Just to mention, not revealing any names, but they are kind of a big furniture manufacturer based in Sweden. This is a mass balance method that they approve on and they accept. So production of penta-erythritol and VoxtarTM, again, we replace, to get 40% of renewable content, we use bioacetaldehyde and then fossil methanol. And if we want to make VoxtarTM 100% renewable content, we use bioacetaldehyde and biomethanol to produce VoxtarTM 100. So the traceable mass balance concept. It's really, when we have a customer asking for VoxtarTM, let's say we have orders for VoxtarTM 100, so 100% renewable, and then we're of course also producing fossil penta-erythritol. We put in the corresponding amount of bioacetaldehyde and biomethanol to provide VoxtarTM, and we put in the corresponding amount of fossil ingredients for our customers requiring fossil penta-erythritol. Then it's mass balanced, everything is mixed. So out of our production, it will be a mix of renewable and black fossil content. And then we put them, label them on bags, either VoxtarTM bags or fossil penta bags. So, and that's the difference between mass balance products and bio-based products. Because you cannot C14 verify these products. They will be a mix, and that's also why you don't need to verify it. But by buying VoxtarTM or any other of our renewable products, you are contributing to the shift and towards renewable raw materials. And that's what's important. And you will also get products with a lower carbon footprint, and it will have a direct impact on your sustainability profile on your company. Sometimes customers ask me, okay, but how can I transfer this to my customers? I cannot claim that it's bio-based, but I think that we need to start thinking, okay, what type of company do we want to be? How do we want to be remembered? By using more renewable raw materials, yes, you can claim to your customers that you are actually reducing the carbon footprint by this amount of percentage, or maybe you want to translate it into something more tangible. Or you could go for the certification and you can put the ISCC stamp on your paint, right? I would like to end my presentation with a very simple example. I think we all know the Eiffel Tower, right? Quite a famous building in Paris. And this tower is repainted every 7th year. And every time, 50,000 liters of paint is being used. And in this paint, it's being used 3,500 kilos of pentaerythritol. If you would switch this pentaerythritol to VoxtarTM 100, you would reduce the carbon emissions with more than 11 tons. And I think that's quite impressive. And that is without doing any changes in your formulation whatsoever, and it will have the same performance, the same durability. Mass balance is really a necessary approach for us to move away from finite materials. But it also requires a credible method. And we need to be transparent. And we need to cooperate across the value chain. That is upstream and downstream. We have a very close collaborations with our suppliers because that's required to make this happen. Because by the end of the day, no company is greener than its suppliers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jenny Klevas and Mr. Parag Karhadkar for such a wonderful presentation. Why don't you step into the center of the stage? And may I now invite President IPCA, Mr. Sagar Goel, to please join us up here and present a memento as a token of our appreciation to Ms. Jenny Klevas and Mr. Parag Karhadkar.
Thank you, thank you.
Let's give them a big round of applause.